My name's Abrar, and I'm going to be your instructor for this video. In this video, we're going to be talking about functions. Now, understanding functions is essential for JavaScript because a lot of the JavaScript's more advanced and fundamental features are built around functions. So let's hop right into it. So first of all, what is a function? What do they do? And how do they work? Well, let's take a look at an example to clear out the confusion. So a function starts with a function declaration. We do that using the function keyword. So we type in function and then we type in the function name. In this case, the name can be any valid identifier. All the rules that apply to naming variables also apply to naming functions, which means it must be unique, it must start with a letter, and so on and so forth. And then we put in a pair of parentheses. These parentheses define the parameters. In this case, we don't have any parameters, so we just put in an empty pair of parentheses. And then the function block starts. So we start the curly braces, and inside the pair of curly braces is the function body. That's where we define the code of the function. In this case, the function body only contains one line of code, which is console.log, hello there. And then we put in the ending pair of curly braces. Now this here is a function. This is called a function declaration. And by using this syntax, we have created a function named sayHello. Now if you run this code like this, you'll see that no text is actually logged to the console. So although we have code that says console.log hello there, no hello there or any text for that matter has been logged to the console. So what's going on? The thing is, the code inside the function body is not immediately executed. So yes, while it's there, while we have typed it in, it's not executed immediately. So unlike other code in JavaScript, which is executed from top to bottom, left to right, the code inside the function body is not immediately executed. It is there, but it's not immediately executed. It is only executed when that function is called or invoked. So in order to do that, we need to type in the function name followed by a pair of parentheses, like this. So if we type in the function name, say hello, and then the pair of parentheses, these pair of parentheses is what tells the JavaScript to invoke the function or call the function. Otherwise, run the code that's inside the function's body. So in this case, when you type in say hello and then a pair of parentheses, then the text hello there is logged to the console. So that's one of the features of functions. Functions allow you to define a code that's not executed immediately. It's executed later on when you call or invoke that function. Now the cool thing is you can call in a same function as many times as you want, and the code inside the function's body will run exactly that many times, which means you can reuse code. That's one of the main features of functions. Functions allow you to define some common code that you can reuse over and over again. That'll help you avoid writing the same code over and over again, and it makes your code much more clean and manageable as well. You can think of functions kind of like variables. So just like variables are used to store values that you define once and then you can reuse it over and over again by referencing to the variable name, similarly for functions you can define a piece of code once and then reuse it over and over again. So in this case you can type in say hello and then parentheses as many times as you want, and we will get the text hello there logged to the console that many times. You don't have to manually type it in every time. You just define it in a function once and then you can reuse it over and over again, just like with variables. Functions can also be used to break up your code. So if your code is getting way too deep and complex, then you can break up certain portions of your code into different functions. We will learn more about the usage of functions later on. Now if your function is the outermost function in your code, which means it's not nested within another function, then that function actually becomes a method of the global object. Inside the browser, the global object is the window object. So when you define a function such as say hello, it actually becomes a method of the window object. So you can also call it by typing in window.sayhello. And that also runs the code inside the function's body and logs the text to the console. Now the type of operator, when used on a function name, can tell you whether it is a function or not. If it is a function and it is defined, then the type of operator will return the string function. You can also use this to check whether a function is defined or not before actually calling it, because calling a function which is not defined or declared will throw in an error. So you can use a simple if conditional to check whether type of a function name equals to the string function. If it is, that means that function is there and is defined. Now we might be talking about functions starting in this module, but the truth is we've actually used functions all throughout this course at different times. For example, when we used a string method such as a string, then dot to uppercase and then a pair of parentheses, then that to uppercase is actually a function. That function is defined in the string prototype. And when a function is defined as the property of an object, we usually call it a method. So the to uppercase method is actually a function that takes in a string and converts it into all uppercase letters. We've also used the parse float method. The parse float method can be used to convert a string into a floating point number. And as you can see, the parse float method is also actually a function. These are built-in functions. And of course, we've used console.log numerous times throughout this course. And if you look at it carefully, the log is actually a method of the console object. So .log is also a function. These are all built-in functions, which means you don't have to define them manually. When you execute JavaScript within a browser, these functions are automatically available as methods that allow you to do certain things. So you've actually been using functions this whole time. Now you can also create function objects. Now functions are actually objects, but the syntax we saw is the function literal syntax. But you can also use the new function syntax. So in this case, we first define a variable say hello, and then we create a new function object and assign it to the say hello variable. And we do that by typing in new function and then console.log hello there as a string as a parameter in the function method. And that creates a new function object. And now you can type in say hello and then a pair of parentheses in order to execute the method which logs the string hello there to the console. However, using this syntax is not recommended because this syntax is not very reliable and it's not the fastest either. So it's better to use the function literal syntax that we just saw. There's no need to use the new function syntax most of the time. Now let's talk about returning from a function. Returning from a function means stopping execution and returning the code from the function. So for example, let's create a function named hello. So we type in function to start the function declaration, then we type in hello and then the pair of parentheses, and then we start the pair of curly braces. And inside the function's body, we define console.log hi. So we log the string hi to the console. And then we type in the return. The return keyword can be used inside the function, which returns from a function, which means the function code will stop executing and it will return from the function when it reaches this statement. And then if we have something else after the return statement, for example console.log the string by, then this is actually not executed. And we can prove that by finishing the function and actually calling it. So if we invoke the hello function by typing in hello and then the pair of parentheses, then you can see that it only logs the string hi. It doesn't log the string by. And that's because we returned from the function before we even got a chance to log the text by to the console. So whenever you have a return statement inside the function's body, the execution will stop there and the function will return, and any code after that won't actually run. Now just returning from a function without doing anything is not very useful. Oftentimes you'll actually be returning a value instead. For example, let's define the same function again. So function hello pair of parentheses and then the starting curly brace. And then we type in console.log hi. So we log the string hi to the console. And then we type in return and then a value. So the return statement can actually return a value if you want. In this case, we want to return the value, the string done. And then again, we type in console.log by. And then we end the function. Now in this case, when we call the function hello and then the pair of parentheses, we get the string hi logged to the console. Now when we call this function by typing in hello and then the pair of parentheses, Then we get the text hi logged to the console, and at the same time, the function returns the string done as the returning value, and this value is replaced with the function call. So hello and then the pair of parentheses is actually replaced with the string done. And you can prove that by assigning hello to a variable. So variable h equals hello and then the pair of parentheses, which logs the string hi to the console, and it returns the string done as a value, which means h now should contain the string done. And now if we check the value of h, it is indeed equal to the string done. And that's how you can return a value within a function.